showing clear footage of what appears to be an alien mothership. But
this is a soft cell, a three-dimensional shape.
Bubbling water keeping South Bay residents busy.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to another Bryce Is Right. I hope y'all all had a great freaking week, great freaking weekend, and I hope y'all are ready to dive down deep into some of the creepiest and freakiest videos I could find in the deepest, darkest corners of TikTok. And nah, these aren't your ordinary videos. They're going to be blowing your mind, making your head spin, and having you question your reality. But of course, before we get started, let's go ahead and smash that like button. Subscribe if you haven't so you don't miss out on any future content, and leave your thoughts down in the comments below. Let us know what's up. Other than that, let's go ahead and dive right in, y'all. Let's get it.
You know what's crazy? Scientists been playing with all type of shit. They've been playing with portals at CERN, and quantum physics. They just came up with this thing called time crystals. You hear about that?
Yeah.
So basically, the theory of relativity says that everything over time declines, right? So like imagine you have your room. You don't clean your room, what happens? It gets dirtier, right? Like everything in the universe tends to decline. And so what they found was they pulled out these like quantum particle beams in this crazy super cold conditions. And what they found was that these particles would out of nowhere spontaneously combust. And then, so they wouldn't just have that repeating pattern over space where like, oh, if it keeps not cleaning, it's going to keep getting dirtier. They'd have it over time. So they get stuck in this state where they would just sit there and then they would break and come back together and break and come back together, and they get stuck on a loop doing that, but they weren't consuming any energy to do it. So imagine it's like your room gets extremely dirty and then cleans itself, and extremely dirty and then cleans itself, and it gets stuck in that loop, but no one's actually doing the cleaning. They found out that particles can get stuck in that state, and I think spiritually people can get stuck in that state.
100%.
That's bullshit. Remember, I told you I have your back even if I got hit by a bus.
That's deep.
For instance, I could tell you honestly that I think there is only the present. Ever, only the present. Past and future are fictions. And then you would say, well, then Bernardo is not a time realist because he denies past and future states. But then I will go ahead and say, I think past and future states are identical in kind and ontologically to present states. The past is not any different than the present. If the present is real, so is the past and so is the future. And then you might say, well, but then you are not a time realist, so you're contradicting yourself, right? Now let me show you how I'm not contradicting myself. I think what we call the past are memories experienced in the present. What we call the future are expectations experienced in the present. Therefore, past and future are present. And therefore, they're no different than the present.
Yeah.
And yet, there is only the present. You see?
Yeah.
But we get muddled in the way we use terms. And then we create these divisions where there may be none.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. I mean, that's so true. Excuse me. That's so crazy. What is written on that bowl? Is that the Boogosphere? Wow. I need one.
That's wrong.
In Detroit.
That's all wrong. I get it back. Boom. The shower is turned off.
It's so cold in the deep.
I like it. Man, it's gonna be cold. I have so many space heaters.
Coming. Shandar. Thank you.
Shao Kahn.
वाह, बहुत हैवी मेल है. इसका क्या नाम है? Crossed. Nice.
Morning successful.
Nice, yeah, very clear.
Golly.
That's a beautiful tiger, which was sighted during the balloon retrieval.
Nice,
Stupid tiger.
So, I've been thinking about Bigfoot again, because apparently that's what adulthood is now. But people always hit me with the same three theories. First, it's just a big hairy animal we haven't discovered yet. And if it is a big hairy animal, is it more evolved than we think, and it buries its dead, and maybe that's why we haven't found any. And then you have all the folks who swear it's an interdimensional being, like Bigfoot's out there stepping through portals every time someone pulls out a camera. And some people connect this to like aliens, and maybe he's on a different frequency, and then our human eyes can't see it. And then there's people out there who think he's Gigantopithecus. I don't know if I said that right, but you know what I'm talking about. The big prehistoric orangutan. I don't know, but what are y'all thinking? Is he just a hidden animal, or is he a frequency-hopping interdimensional being, or just some ancient giant who missed his exit?
I don't know.
Have you guys heard of the Pit from Hell? This is crazy. The Hauska Castle. This castle is very strange. The fortification is not facing the outside, it's facing the inside of the castle into a courtyard. This pit goes back to ancient traditions where it's this giant like granite slab, I believe. But in this slab, people always reported hearing like noises and like creatures coming out of this pit.
Oh my gosh.
And like terrorizing villages. Apparently it got so bad to where they built this castle around it and basically set up all these monks and stuff inside this. And then at one point it became like a prison. They would like give prisoners option like death penalty or lowered into the pit. And stories go that these prisoners were lowered into the pit, and when they came out they had aged like 40 to 50 years, like just completely grayed, screaming, losing their minds. There's creatures down there, fire. They literally described it as hell.
What?
These monks and stuff, they were set up around there to combat these demons that were coming out of this pit. And then eventually they just decided to seal it up. But it wasn't until the Nazis took over this castle, reopened the pit. And sure enough, the same occurrences. It described like giant frog-looking men. Then after World War II, when the Nazis were driven out, they sealed it. Modern day, no one's tested what's in this pit.
Who owns it now?
I don't know.
Let's do a GoFundMe on Patreon.
Open the pit.
My roommate was a frog kid. You ever see a frog kid?
Frog kid?
Yeah.
This guy placed a flashlight on top of this cat's head to see what would happen. At first, it created an effect that would glow the cat's eye red. But the moment he turned up the flashlight's brightness to the max, he was completely shocked when the cat's eye turned into this. Now take a look.
Oh my God, even the eyebrow. That's crazy. That's just so satisfying. But I like it.
It's exactly what you think. Korea does it again. The scientists there are truly top of the world, and they figured out a way to reverse cancer.
Reverse?
They found like the 3 main switches that causes cells to grow uncontrollably like this to create cancer, which, by the way, that's a whole different side point, because every person has cancerous cells. It's just when these 3 switches go out of control that it creates cancer. Anyway, long story short, this is amazing to see. There are so many different advancements in cancer. I don't know why anybody's even going for the old chemo treatments anymore, especially when there's ways to delete cancer with proton beams and even sound. It's exactly what you think.
Detaching its own hand, which then crawls to get an object that was out of reach, would theoretically allow robots to extend their reach by far. The brainchild of EPFL researchers in Switzerland, the idea is to move robots beyond the human hand design while keeping the dexterity.
Pretty awesome.
2 self-taught innovators have made a groundbreaking achievement in the field of artificial intelligence. These inventors, who lack formal education in robotics, have developed a biorobotic prosthetic arm using salvaged electronic components. Their device ingeniously functions by capturing brain signals through a headset receiver, converting these signals into electrical currents that precisely control the movements of the prosthetic limb. Welcome to Afrogenesis, where this artificial intelligence assistant system comes to life. As the systems begin to boot up, you are instructed to wait for a blue light to appear, then say the password Jeff to proceed further.
My name is Jeff.
This invention, created without any budget or funding, offers a cost-effective solution for amputees, especially in regions like Kenya.
That's awesome. Way to go.
A research team in Europe created an algorithm that lets drones cooperate when they carry a load. They adjust when faced with obstacles, strong winds of up to 10 miles an hour, or if the load has an irregular, sloshing movement pattern.
A glass of water is actually just a glass of lava. Ice is a mineral, because a mineral is just a inorganic material that is solid and has a definite crystal structure, which ice does. Water is important for life, but it's inorganic, actually. It would exist here or whether there was life or not. A cube of ice is made of a mineral, so it's a monomineralic rock. So melted ice is molten rock. Lava. So water is lava.
What are you doing? It's coming out of me like lava!
In the South Bay, a pho restaurant in Milpitas shut down indefinitely, and this viral video is the reason why. That is a now former employee you see there in the black shirt. And yes, that is a slab of ribs he's slamming on the ground. This happened at the restaurant Pho Love, the restaurant owner telling the Mercury News that this former employee is trying to bring down his restaurant. Well, the county health department has now closed Pho Love, saying inspectors also discovered other health violations, including a cockroach infestation.
These guys have a deep commitment to their job.
But the intention was thumbs up, and then basically pointing at our fans because everybody was jumping up and down excited.
Look at that. Dang. Look at, bro, he's just going right back into the ocean. What the heck? Dude, this is the goal.
Watch what happens when you place a brand new sledgehammer against one made in the 1960s under a 500-ton hydraulic press. First up, the shiny new hammer holds strong until the press hits 80 tons and finally crushes it. Then came the 60-year-old hammer. It resisted up to 50 tons, but at 100 tons, something crazy happened. Not only did it survive, it jammed the entire machine. So were things really built better back then?
Yes, to a point. That'd be so freaking scary.
I can't stop thinking about what I just learned recently. There was a woman who had a persistent cough and fever for over 6 months. She received antibiotics, anti-tuberculosis medicine, and nothing was helping. The cause ended up being an inverted bag-like structure inside of her lung that was later revealed to be a condom. Keanu Reeves' stunt double in The Matrix is who ended up directing him in the John Wick movies. The word run is apparently the most complex word in the English language because it has 645 possible meanings. Luis Albino was a 6-year-old boy who was kidnapped in 1951 and was found alive by his relatives in 2024. When Pluto was discovered, the first choice for a name was Minerva, but apparently it was already taken by an asteroid. After Steve Carell left The Office, James Gandolfini of The Sopranos was offered the role to replace him, but HBO paid him $3 million to not take it. The iPhone 5 was released in the same month that GTA 5 came.
This is a soft cell, a three-dimensional shape which fills space without gaps and overlaps, but has no sharp corners. In July 2025 on the International Space Station, Tibor Kapu cautiously adds water into the skeleton. The liquid, free of Earth's gravity, first forms membranes attached to the edges, and then gradually fills the whole skeleton forming a soft cell made entirely of water. This is the first instance that a 3D shape with negative surface curvature has been realized from liquid water.
All right, I'm really happy. I'm really happy. This is beautiful.
Is that the shape of the boogosphere? I mean, not the boogosphere, those orbs. The meaning of life.
I'll do it in 5 words.
Okay.
Enjoying the passage of time. That's it. It's enjoying the passage of time. It's the chances of us being here now are so small. The chances of us existing. It's almost, you know, if you look at the stats, it's not. Incalculable, and we're here, and we have this shot, and we're incredible. Enjoying the passage of time is about all I got, and it's enough.
Absolutely. Let that small stuff go. What is this? It doesn't just look like a tornado
if
forming.
If I were to look at my ancestors from 500 years ago, you said they don't have dentists, they don't have toothpaste and all those kinds of things, but you also said they don't have tooth decay.
Yeah.
Does that not therefore mean that I shouldn't need a dentist and I shouldn't need toothpaste or mouthwash or floss?
If you had a caveman diet, then potentially you might not need toothpaste, floss, or even a toothbrush. And there's a lot of argument as to, you know, there's a lot of people out there saying, no, you don't need to use any toothpaste, you don't need floss, anything like that. And fine, go ahead, do that, but only if you are going to be eating, you know, meat, or raw meat sometimes, and you're only drinking water and you're not having anything in your diet which has any sugar or carbohydrates in it.
Oh, groovy, baby. Yeah.
So a number of remote viewers have remote viewed the year 2050.
Mm-hmm.
One group was led by Stefan Schwartz, and Lynn Buchanan also did the same project of remote viewing the world in 2050. And other people as well, but these are two very prominent ones. And they all say that there's going to be a catastrophic, precipitous sea level rise. Not the kind of sea level rise you expect like a few feet from global warming or whatever, climate change. No. And not just a tsunami like you would expect a permanent sea level rise of between 200 to 300 feet. Meaning every coastal city in the world is going to go underwater by 2050. Every coastal city in the world. That would affect about 4 billion people.
But I don't know. There are all these predictions in UFO space around 2027.
I'm just telling you, the remote viewers all see this.
Yeah.
They see that all the coastal areas of the world have gone deep underwater.
Your blood isn't just a fluid, but a whole ecosystem working nonstop to keep you alive. Red blood cells have their unique shape because they lack a nucleus, giving them more surface area to carry oxygen. Also called leukocytes, white blood cells such as neutrophils move like amoeba as they hunt intruders and clear away dead cells. All these cells float through your plasma, a yellowish, water-rich liquid that makes up 55% of your blood, a bustling, microscopic world keeping you alive.
Yeah.
Someone said the Smithsonian must have missed one. Look at what this person finds in this crevice while in Mitora, Greece. A giant skull that fell down who knows how long ago. And if you look, they're about 100 yards away from this crevice. So that head is estimated to be twice the size of a human skull, which is exactly how many different ancients described the size of some giants. Twice the size, some were 3 times the size, double rows of teeth. Look at this freaking thing, dude. Giant skull found in Greece. And guess what? The ancient Greeks talked all about freaking giants. Also note, you can't really get up here. This isn't part of the tour. It's kind of a spire sticking up out of the ground. And furthermore, the person who uploaded this said that God guided their gaze to this spot. They saw it with their eyes first, and then they said, hold on a sec, zoom in. It's a freaking giant skull. And by the way, before you think, that's impossible, dude, look up the newspaper articles since the 1800s. There's been hundreds of articles about giant bones, giant skulls, everything found, boom, bang, bing, all across the United States, all across Europe, let alone the ancient texts like the Bible, and even the Quran talks about it. I'm pretty sure even the freaking Talmud mentions giants. It was common knowledge back then. Cain and Abel, you got Jack and the Beanstalk. How many fairy tales? I'm just reading fairy tales now, and I'm seeing that so many of them are talking about giants. Fairy tale. They duped us, man. People thinking giants didn't exist or weren't real, yada, yada. They freaking were, but the problem is that if you find out that giants are legit, it'll make you question the official narrative of how history unfolded, and their whole charade falls down. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and follow for more.
I'm a freaking giant.
You've probably seen this before, but isn't it crazy that if you go to one specific side of Earth, it literally looks like there's no land and it's just a massive planet covered by an ocean? This is actually the most isolated place on Earth, called Point Nemo. It is the furthest from land area you can get anywhere on Earth. What's insane to think about is if you were here alone on a boat, the closest other people to you would be the astronauts on the International Space Station at 250 miles away. And the second closest people would likely be the people on Easter Island at 1,600 miles away. Point Nemo is also extremely close to the area where the bloop was hurt. You know, that presumed unknown sea monster, if it's not just an iceberg breaking in half. But this is also the location of the lost Lovecraftian city of Arlier, you know, where Cthulhu is imprisoned in the story. So is the bloop actually Cthulhu? I thought it was super cool, and I wanted to talk about Point Nemo again, so there you go.
That's wild.
We really live in the best time to have ever lived. South Korea did it again, and this time it's the scientists at the Seoul National University. They've created a micro needle patch. I mean, they're thinking it's just going to be $300. It puts stem cells into the teeth, regrows the teeth, and they're saying it's going to end dentures forever. So I'm curious, if you can get a patch that covers your gums or where your tooth used to be, and it just regrows your tooth, who's signing up for that instead of getting, you know, metal screws screwed into their head? And by the way, those metal screws really hurt when they're getting drilled into your head, and nobody really wants to tell you that. I mean, yeah, they can give you painkillers or put you to sleep, but if you could just put on a patch and it's some micro needles, which I'm sure you don't even feel the micro needles, I think this is a big win. Are you going to do the patch or the implant or neither? I mean, that's the best way, right? Just stay healthy.
What? Damn, dude. That's another... Man, you should really brush your teeth more because that is not normal.
The government has retrieved at least 2 different alien species, and that one of them made contact with the crash retrieval team. What does that mean? Does that mean it was alive when they captured it?
One of the intelligence officials in the film speaks about an event that happened on a U.S. military base where 2 UAP approached the base. One of them landed, and apparently non-human beings exited the craft and interacted with members of the Air Force and the CIA. Now, here's the thing. These all sound like extraordinary claims that are hard for people to wrap their head around, right?
Yeah.
But these are 34, in my film, there's 34 extremely high-level military, government, intelligence officials, people who have been trusted with very high-level security clearances, people who have been involved in, you know, keeping this nation safe in many different ways, and people who we trust in a lot of scenarios. And, you know, these interview subjects range from our Secretary of State to sitting senators to former, Director of National Intelligence, a former Secretary of Defense, leaders from the Pentagon, leaders from the CIA, leaders from the Air Force, leaders from the Navy. I mean, the list goes on and on. It's really hard to ignore what these people are saying.
It's really hard to say this is one kooky person doing this when you have this much experience in every level and every branch of government all coming together on camera to say, not only have we retrieved alien spacecraft, we've retrieved alien remains.
Yeah, and keep in mind, these are people that are not aligned at all ideologically or politically, right? But they're aligned on this. So it's 34 senior officials sharing one truth.
I'm gonna watch that actually after this. I can't wait. Age of Disclosure. Y'all check it out. It's gonna be a phenomenal shift.
This is hands down one of the coolest photos taken from outer space of all time, and I'm gonna try really hard to explain why. This is a real image taken in 1977 from a spacecraft traveling over 30,000 miles per hour. And this is the first image of the Earth and the moon in the same frame. Be honest, did you notice the moon was there? This image was taken through 3 different color filters and processed back on Earth, and also because the Earth is so much brighter than the moon was actually brightened by 3 times. But here's a brighter version. This is insane because the perspective makes the scale look so different. But this is where Voyager started, and now it is the most distant human-made object from Earth. At this point, it's 16 billion miles away, which means it takes about 23 hours one way just to send signals to it. And it's old. It's losing power, so to conserve the scientific abilities that it had left, scientists actually shut off the camera in 1990. But right before it did, it turned around and took one last look at Earth. This is the pale blue dot. That's Earth, and the moon is too small and dim to see. You can see how far the spacecraft went from this to this in 13 years. Now, hopefully someday aliens will intercept it and get a hint that there's other life out there. If you learned something from this video, please consider voting for me for the Learning Creator of the Year at the first United States TikTok Awards. I am so excited.
Images of 3 Atlas are absolutely incredible. You haven't seen my last video, go and see it, and it explains a lot about what we're seeing here, right? But there's another side of it I kind of want to bring to the surface, which I've kind of been made aware of literally just now, right? So here it is. There was some astrophotographers which took 20-minute exposures, multiple imagery, and just kind of whacked them together, which kind of revealed this beautiful and incredible structure of 3 Atlas, right? But there's a few things I want to kind of bring here. So there's a few people, there's one on YouTube called No Rivets, who is a remote viewer. Now, months ago, they did a remote viewing session of 3 Atlas, which kind of basically brought up this sketch and imagery that you're seeing here of the object, right? And on the object itself, she says, divine technology, somewhat slightly awakened, will not last forever, radiating, energy source, and dead center. And if we're looking at this right now, it looks directly in the middle there. It looks like her drawing, okay? With a center core with this kind of diamond-shaped nature, right? And if we're looking at this on a level-headed level, what we're seeing is jets of supercharged particles being jetted out, and this object is spinning. But look at it's like a shield. It's like a cross. It's incredible, right? Now, there's another person, and his name is Lay PQ. And months ago, he's, I'll read a little bit about what he's saying here. This random image kept popping in my head months ago, so much that I had to paint it to figure it out. Today, a big surprise. And he tagged me in the video, and he showed me this painting here. He painted this months ago. And he was also remote viewing 3 Atlas, which kind of brought up the same imagery that we're seeing here. Now, coincidence or something more, right? And you know my personal belief on this now. If you don't know my personal belief, you can go back to my video and believe what it is. But I believe this on a physical level is a very unique and beautiful comet-like object. But in its own classification, this object is just something that we haven't seen before. But on a spiritual level, I believe personally that this is something more. Now, there's a few people that are connecting the dots and seeing the same things. Now, coinkydink? I don't know.
The Earth's rotational pole has shifted over 2 feet in the last 20 years, and researchers have identified why, and it's really not good. Turns out reallocation of underground water caused the tilt, and researchers modeled it. Yep, our best explanation for why the tilt has changed is with underground water being pulled up and placed on the surface or into the ocean. Yeah, the Earth is not really that big, and apparently little changes in where mass is located can have big consequences. And it's not just water that's being pulled up from aquifers. They've also found that making dams and allocating water into large reservoirs had also caused a shift. But wait, there's more. There's other really bad consequences to draining aquifers. Now, in case you're not familiar, aquifers are underground water sources. They end up trickling through from the land and making these deposits over millions of years. They are not renewable. But we also found out that our cities are being supported by them. We humans like to make cities near where there are water supplies. We use aquifers for things like agriculture. And when they run out, that is a huge problem. I mean, what are we going to do with our inland cities? People are just going to have to move because We need water. There have been some efforts to figure out how we can refill them. That is great. But there's another issue, that pulling from them is making our cities collapse. So you can see in this map of elevation changes, and this was made by NASA, those that are in dark blue are sinking and red are elevating. Yeah, maybe it's good for the coastal cities to be a little bit more elevated. This has been attributed to pulling from groundwater. Apparently you can't take the water that is underneath a city and expect it to just be fine. It feels like this should have been obvious. So yeah, doom and gloom, cities are sinking. We should really probably figure out what to do about water, but I think this is all going to get much worse before it gets better. When the apocalypse comes and the robots rebel, I'll probably be the one to tell you about it. Follow for more.
Police officer pyramid scheme the whole time.
Off-duty police officers could get a side gig as a DARE officer, and then they could recruit other police officers in their area. The more people you recruited, the more kickbacks you got. And that's why it spread so fast, because it was kind of an MLM. And the way they got that model, one of the board members, the founder of Herbalife.
You know what dog food tastes like, do you? It tastes just like it smells. Delicious.
There's a mystery off our coast tonight, bubbling water keeping South Bay residents busy.
Mike, a lot of people are wondering what this is.
A lot of people are wondering, Pat, and we went digging for the answers tonight, and it all started with videos just like this. You see all this bubbling coming off the coast of Hermosa Beach. This has had residents really trying to figure out what's been going on for the last several days, and I want to show you some more video sent in to us by a viewer and by somebody who took the video, Bo Bridges. This is what a lot of people saw when they stood on the shoreline. You just kind of see the white caps just kind of rustling there underneath. Bo flew a drone out there and discovered this. It looks a lot more intense when you're right on top of it, and you can see all that water coming out. There was a lot of chatter on Facebook, a local Facebook group down there, figuring out what this was. Was it aliens? No, of course, it's not aliens, but it is underwater fiber lines that are being cleaned. We'll show you the video because we sent SkyCal down there today, and you'll see just how far from the shore and into the water this actually is. There's the boat that's doing the work. I was able to speak with the contractor who runs this crew, and he tells me that these are fiber lines that run from the West Coast all the way to Asia. Now, they tell me that early next year, Meta is expected to add onto that line, and in order to get ready for that, they had to clean out the lines. So they were blowing air through them to clean the lines, and that is what created that giant bubble that came up. But it had me wondering a lot. I went down a rabbit hole, which I do sometimes. I want to show you this. Look at this. These are all of the underwater fiber lines that cross all across the world. It really is remarkable just how many of them are. And it was this that caused this. We'll show you the photo here. This is just one of many things that was floating around on social media that had a lot of people concerned. But you know what? The people down in Hermosa Beach, they're making light of it now. Check this out. Zaca Mesa Winery is partnering with Bo Bridges. That's who sent us the video. This is one of the wine labels. Look at, there's the little spot. There's the alien spaceship that so many people thought was the cause of the water bubbling up, but they're at Bo Bridges Gallery. So not aliens, not anything to do with whales or potentially their flatulence. That was something else that was going around on Facebook. It is, in fact, just the cleanliness of the fiber lines that run underneath our oceans, guys.
I still cannot believe that this competition right here, this competition led me to this, my very first attempt at telekinesis, which was not great, but you know what? It was my first attempt. And that attempt just led me to the next attempt. And the next one under a glass. It's funny because ever since I started sharing my own telekinesis practice, I get asked all the time, but is it real? Is it real? And I get it. I would have asked the same exact questions 6 years ago. Back then, if you told me that one day I'd be able to feel energy pulsing between my palms, read information in someone's energy field, or even move an object with focused intent, I would have laughed in your face. Like seriously, I probably would have laughed. But life and consciousness has a way of humbling our certainty, that's for sure. What I have learned is that real isn't always limited to what we can measure with our five senses. And that for me is a fact.
That's so weird.
Hello and welcome back to Celebrities You Didn't Know Were Kidnapped. So this is actually one of the scariest celebrity kidnapping stories I've ever heard. Today we're talking about Justin Long. This story takes place in 2007 when Justin was filming a movie in Birmingham, Alabama. Justin was out at a local bar after filming with some of the crew when he was approached by two local men. The men offered to take Justin and the production assistants to a casino, but insisted that they all drive together in their car. Justin actually didn't think much of this and agreed to go with them, but first wanted to go back to his hotel room to get some more money to gamble with. So he goes, grabs the money, gets back in the car with the guys, and the guys say that they need to make a pit stop at their house. And while they're at the house, one of them offers Justin some
Ask me about my winner!
weed, and he takes one hit and realizes it's not. He starts immediately feeling like he's losing control of his body, and when he offers it back to the men, they don't want to smoke it. And it's at this point, too, that another man comes out of one of the rooms, goes, "That's the guy," grab the camera, and then they're all back in the car again. At this point, Justin's at least with it enough to know that they're not bringing him back to his hotel, even though he's begging them to. At one point, they actually drive him to the hotel, but don't let him get out and then drive away from it, sort of to like taunt him or to try to calm him down or something. He knows that things are starting to look really dire and gets this overwhelming sense that he is going to die. So what he does next is he opens the car door going 30 miles an hour and jumps out of it. And actually, he's so clumsy as he does it, he falls under the car and the car runs over his leg. But he's actually able to still get up and flag down the next car that drives by, which just happened to be a cab. The PAs that he was with were also let go at this point, and to this day he has nerve damage, but obviously it could have been so much worse. Make sure you're following along for more in this series.
You know the part in scary movies where somebody does something really stupid and everybody hates them for it? This is it.
Yeah, I enjoyed his work. I
So
accepted a
every
lot.
single time I do a video about the rich and the powerful doing fucked up things, there's always someone in the comments acting like a defense attorney for the billionaire they decided is one of the good ones. We can talk about how elites manipulate markets, they crush workers, they take tax breaks. We can even talk about the fucked up stuff like red rooms and the fact they disappear on the islands doing horrific things. But the second the conversation shifts to someone's personal hero, whether it's a tech messiah or the current president, the critical thinking evaporates like it was never there. They're all in the same social circles. Because suddenly the same folks who talk endlessly about how the elite class is full of predators and manipulators and liars and secret keepers, now they're crying, no, not my guy, not him, he would never. It's funny how selective evil becomes when it bumps into someone's political fantasy. You have people talk so highly about Elon and Peter Thiel and all these fucking monsters, but they're in the same joint ventures as BlackRock, but BlackRock is the devil. This is the core of all the hypocrisy. People want to believe in a good billionaire, even though the entire structure that creates billionaires is the same machine they claim is full of corruption. And if we're going to talk about corruption and power in the dark corners of the elite world, then we can't pretend that our favorite characters are magically exempt. And why the fuck do y'all have favorite billionaires and favorite politicians?
I like that guy.
Most people will never be able to zoom into the sun this close because it costs about a $40,000 setup with the lenses and fancy camera. This is not AI. This is the sun. Now, some will call it solar flares. All I know is this thing looks like a freaking organism. And if they're lying about the moon landing, if they're lying about space, if they're lying about the nature of our reality, then you can also imagine we may have been lied to about the sun. This is footage of the sun with a whole bunch of basically sunglasses on the freaking lens of the camera to be able to see it in detail. A ball of gas and fire, I'm not sure. It actually looks like a molecule or some type of organism with a microscope. And I don't think that this is 93 million miles away either. That is almost 100% guaranteed a complete lie. Now, the other thing is, if the Earth has its own consciousness, some people call it Gaia or Mother Earth, it has its own consciousness, microcosm to macrocosm, then would it make sense that the sun is an inanimate object, or that it too is sentient and some form or another living? Because crystals, Nikola Tesla said, are also living. We just don't understand them. I wonder. All I know is a ball of fire, I don't know, maybe it's pure light, perhaps it's a portal. Remember, you got to unlearn all the things you think you learned. Look at this frickin' thing, man. That's the sun.
These
I think
NASA
there's
engineers
life.
found a way to put out fires using sound waves, so it seems fires aren't a fan of a filthy bass line, as the method uses deep bass frequencies, too low for humans to hear, to literally shake the fire apart. The sound waves, officially called infrasound pressure waves, knock oxygen molecules out of the way before the fire has a chance to use them for combustion. They can extinguish fires from up to 10 feet away and even prevent fires from starting in the first place. They do require a special kind of speaker, as most speakers can't produce these deep bass tones at the high pressure required to affect fire. So don't try just blasting some drum and bass if you start a fire at home. They're now developing ways of deploying the sound waves through ducts in buildings to prevent apartment fires, for example, or even attaching them on drones or to trees to prevent wildfires. Putting out fires like this can save resources, reduce damage, and the cleanup, as no water or chemicals are needed. Tap like if you're a fan of this solution and follow along for more.
So it's nice to see the technology actually coming full circle or together, getting like a 1.0 version that is being mass produced. It's pretty cool.
This is a 1972 untitled piece by Zdzisław Paczynski. He painted what he saw in his nightmares, but he didn't find them grim at all. He thought his work was optimistic and even kind of funny. And he himself was kind, soft-spoken, and loved to laugh. But despite all that, his real life slowly started to look a lot like the paintings he made, which are perfect for this week's spooky series of haunted art. Zdzisław Paczynski was born February 24th, 1929 in Poland. He studied architecture at Krakow Polytechnic and then went on to be a construction site supervisor, which he absolutely hated, so he started sculpting using leftover building material. After realizing how much he loved it, with no formal art training, he started painting as well. In 1964, he had his first big exhibition in Warsaw and every single painting sold. Overnight, he became one of Poland's leading contemporary artists. He described his work as photographing dreams, but those dreams looked like something between Silent Hill and Hellraiser. He refused to title or explain any of his pieces and said that the viewer should decide what it means. He hated silence while he worked, so he'd blast classical music and rock and even jazz. He said, "I have this need for music to smash and tear me apart." And that music allowed him to paint for 14 hours a day without any break, standing up the whole time. But despite all the loud horror on his canvas, he was actually quite shy. He barely even went to his own exhibits. He had OCD, he rarely traveled, and at one point he stayed inside for 2 years and wrote 40 short stories. But he then locked them away until after his death because he thought they weren't good enough. But in 1998, his life started to echo his art. His wife Sophia suddenly passed away, and a year later on Christmas Eve, his son took his own life. And Paczynski was the one who found the body. After that, he pinned an envelope to his wall that said, "In case I die." No one knows what was inside it, but it was like he could feel something closing in. On February 21st, 2005, Paczynski was murdered in his apartment. He was stabbed 17 times by the teenage son of his longtime caretaker who had asked him for a loan. He was 75 years old. Today, several museums in Poland are dedicated to his work. Even Burning Man Festival built a Paczynski cross in his honor. He once said, "I paint what comes to my mind. I don't know what it means." And maybe that's why it still haunts us, because when we see how his life played out, maybe there was something in his subconscious that knew more than he thought. But I'd love to know what it means to you. So let me know in the comments, and happy Halloween.
I'm sorry, do you need to get that?
Man, that was I love that dude's work, but he's...
And she is fed and feisty. What are you doing, baby? Okay, so I fed her. I will feed the barn.
What the hell is that? I don't lock the doors immediately.
Okay.
Did you see that? Do you realize what's going on right now? A lot of people think that because she lives in the Appalachian Mountains, there's some real paranormal stuff going on. A lot of people are upset with her, saying, "Why are you outside at night with your keys?" I don't know what it is about the Appalachian Mountain and the keys, but it's a big deal apparently. At one point in this video, a lot of people noticed something very strange and creepy. If you were to go back to the beginning of the video, you would see exactly what everybody else is seeing.
Why wouldn't her car work though? That's what's tripped me out.
44% of autistic patients in the study no longer met the diagnostic cutoff for autism after this fecal transfer. And I believe, I have to pull it out again, it was over a 2-year basis that they were following the subjects there after a number of sessions of this fecal transfer. So 44% of those diagnosed with autism after the fecal intervention no longer met the diagnostic cutoff for autism. Then we go over to 2 fascinating case studies with ADHD. Again, this is very new, so there's not a lot of data, but I think it's exciting and we should be allocating resources towards this. A 22-year-old woman with a gut infection and a 28-year-old man with bipolar both coincidentally alleviated all of their ADHD symptoms with fecal transfer intervention. So they weren't doing it for ADHD. It was a byproduct that the researchers found it particularly important to note that, by the way, no longer got that diagnosis, don't know how that came about. We alleviated or tried to help the gut infection and the bipolar, and as a byproduct by improving the gut microbiota there, we also got rid of ADHD. To which we go back to the beginning of the episode and we see if we transfer social anxiety bacteria from someone with social anxiety and we put in a rat, we then degrade its oxytocin. If we get depressed person's gut bacteria and put that in a rat, we then degrade testosterone. It's
crazy.
Very powerful stuff. So now we're saying, okay, maybe we should be doing stool samples instead of getting magic beans and being told to think better, when we know that our ability to extinguish fears rests upon our gut microbiota, but we have no problem with fear acquisition within our minds, within our nervous system, irrelevant of our gut. Makes sense. Body's trying to save us. It will allocate its energy where it can when it's in scarce states. If it allocated it the other way, we would walk off the cliff because we would confuse it for a pool, a trampoline, and say, I can't even remember what these sheer faces of rocks are really like. And there's no going back from that instance. 44%.
So ChatGPT was asked how to live to 140 years, and the answer was simple, logical, but somewhat surprising. Check this out. So ChatGPT analyzed data from the blue zones. These are areas where people commonly live over 100 years old, and had many insights from this data. And the unexpected conclusion that it had is it's not the diet, it's not the genetics, and it's not exercise.
No. Wait, yellow are not, what are they, just speed? No, they're the X.
The main factor contributing to longevity is a low level of chronic stress. Everything else is secondary. You can eat healthy, go to the gym, don't smoke or drink, but if you live under constant stress, your lifespan will be shorter. According to ChatGPT, chronic stress isn't about your work or money. It's the internal conflict between who you are and who you want to appear to be. If you don't live your own life, your body will stay in survival mode 24/7. The more at which you are at harmony with yourself, the longer you will live. Another finding by ChatGPT is that social connections are extremely important. Basically, loneliness is equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. People with strong social bonds tend to live 50% longer. And it's not about the number of relationships that you have, it's about the quality of those relationships. Another finding that it had is that having a purpose is extremely important. In Japan, this is called an ikigai, and it's basically the reason why you get up in the morning every day. People with a strong purpose tend to live 7 years longer. Another finding that it has is that if you're someone that over-optimizes for health, if you're someone that obsesses to the point where you're counting calories, steps, avoiding bad foods, that's more like a prison than actually living life, and that actually boosts your stress level, which is not good for your longevity. It also found that these people that live in these blue zones, they don't go to the gym. They walk, they tend gardens, they climb stairs. Movement is just intertwined into their life, not condensed into a 1-hour session. So the takeaway here is to stay active and move throughout the day. And then finally, you should sleep when you're tired and eat when you're hungry. Pretty simple. ChatGPT said that long-lived people tend to listen to their bodies. They sleep when they're tired. They don't follow rigid schedules. If you want to learn more about AI, make sure to follow for more.
So I've been testing this out a lot more, and it's been helping a lot.
Dostoevsky warned us
Reducing.
tolerance will reach such a level that intelligent people will be forbidden to think so as not to offend the imbeciles. And the prophet was right. We live in an age where thinking has become a crime, where the sensitivity of the fool is worth more than the clarity of the wise. Truth must now apologize, thought must walk on tiptoes, and he who dares to question it is silenced, labeled, and canceled. What they call tolerance is in truth the new name for cowardice. A society that protects stupidity is doomed to be ruled by it. Dostoevsky saw the abyss long before us, and he was right. The world won't be destroyed by the wicked, but the cowards who can't stand to hear someone think differently.
How do I pronounce your name? Tchaikovsky?
Chudnovsky.
Chudnovsky? All right, kiss my ass.
You know, focus that guy.
As a species, this is all the gold we've ever mined. So, valid question, why do people that don't have electricity love this stuff? Well, before science gave us a use for it, there was a theory, and it's my favorite theory because it is a curveball. Let's break it down. Our most advanced tech, like neutrino detectors and the James Webb Space Telescope, use gold. Gold reflects infrared almost perfectly. That's what James Webb is, an infrared telescope. Combine that with optical, you have great images. Gold's electrons are so dense it reflects almost everything. Particles or waves try, they almost all get reflected. So you know how plants are green because they absorb red and reflect green? Gold devours the color of the thing that it transmits best, plasma discharge on Earth. Signal transmission is so clean it can be used for brain implants. Not only because it doesn't rust, which would explain why it's implanted in the heads of mummies, but because bioelectric signals are extremely precise and cannot have any distortion. Gold has the cleanest response in the terahertz band. Any lower you're in electronics territory, any higher you're in optics territory. Terahertz is the band of biological communication. Terahertz is the language of biological computing. That's why gold's used in brain stuff. Penetrates materials, it interacts with molecules, carries information using plasma to basically read bioelectric states. Don't have that much of it because it's really hard to find. But the Egyptians had over 200 known mines for this stuff. That is a ton of work for a coffin. Whenever humans interacted with higher consciousness, they used gold. Ritual objects were always gold. Hindu temples, gold. Buddhist temples, gold. Great Pyramid, gold cap. Incas, absolutely obsessed with gold. Gold is the only known metal on Earth that is a biological interface. Essentially, a USB for higher consciousness. Here are all the sources that I used for this video, and if you are new here, Cryptex is where all of these ideas come from by translating ancient mythology into modern language using science. These videos are honestly easy to make because they agree so well if you have the right lens. There is no better time to explore this stuff than right now because my Black Friday sale already started. Once a year, I put all my stuff into a bundle and then I make it 70% off for you. It's an alchemy-themed epiphany party, but it's no party without you.
I would like to extend to you an invitation to the pants party.
I'm gonna go to the pants party.
I'm a professor of neuroscience, and one of the most annoying things I see on social media is people talking nonsense about the dopamine system. Dopamine this, dopamine that, it's mostly all nonsense, and let me explain to you why. To measure the dopamine system in the human brain, you use a technique called positron emission tomography, or PET. In the PET technique, what you do is you inject the patient with a radioactive tracer that binds to some of the dopamine receptors in the brain. When dopamine is released in the brain, it kicks some of this tracer off the receptors, and you can measure that signal change using the PET scanner. So that's pretty cool, but the technique has a number of limitations. Most obviously, you're not actually measuring dopamine release, you're measuring displacement at the receptor. Perhaps more importantly, is that you're measuring dopamine release over many minutes of a PET scan, whereas dopamine releases to an event is happening pretty quickly, in the order of less than a second. So there's a lot of time smooth averaging happening here, which means you can't actually measure a dopamine hit. Because the technique is so expensive and invasive, study sizes are generally pretty small, normally 10 to 20 patients, and the whole scanning environment is kind of artificial, not very ecologically valid at all. So PET is a wonderful technique for actually measuring dopamine activity, for example, how dopamine is modified by drugs, or how the dopamine system of patients and controls is different to each other. but you cannot measure dopamine hits. To do that, you would have to do something invasive in an animal model using microdialysis probes, but that would be another video. So next time you hear some influencer talking about dopamine release or dopamine hits, try to remember this video and remember that this person is talking bollocks.
Yeah, I could talk about dopamine hits for
NASA
hours.
just held their first public announcement about 3i Atlas in over a month, giving their final verdict on it and even showing us some new pics. You know, the interstellar object passing through our solar system that many think is an alien mothership. We've got some new amateur videos of it. It apparently ripped a massive hole through our sun when it passed by it, and NASA abruptly ended a live stream when an alleged UFO passed by just a day before this announcement. And the too long didn't watch summary of it is, it's 100% a comet and their pics suck. Shocker. Like, really? These are the best picks they got at this point? But in more interesting news you actually care about that NASA is not going to talk about, we have these alleged leaked videos of 3i Atlas, which are probably fake, but they're pretty fun to look at, showing clear footage of what appears to be an alien mothership, but take it with a grain of salt. Our sun now has a massive butterfly-shaped coronal hole 35 times the size of Earth on its surface, conveniently rotating towards us just shortly after 3i Atlas flew by the sun on the other side. Now, coronal holes are actually pretty common and are just areas on the sun's surface where the temperature is cooler and the density of the sun's plasma is lower, usually resulting in magnetic fields shooting out into space. But this is the biggest one we've had in a while, and the fact that it happened just shortly after 3i Atlas flew by our sun leads some people to believe that it, like, I don't know, extracted energy from our sun to power its ship. Amateur telescopes from Ray's Astrophotography captured this video of 3i Atlas, showing what appears to be multiple objects rotating around each other as it moves through space, similar to that European Space Agency video we got a month ago. Here's another non-NASA video showing the interstellar object with a similar effect. What is going on with this thing? Pausing Ray's video and enhancing it shows us this, which is definitely something they don't want you looking at. Here are some more taken by the Italian Virtual Telescope project, which aren't very clear, but we can see that something is happening there. Now, a day before NASA's announcement, they had a live stream where a triangle-shaped UFO appeared on screen right before they cut off the stream. And it just comes out of nowhere, almost looking like it has some sort of cloaking technology enabled. But people are quick to point out that the camera was actually facing Earth, and these are just a reflection of city lights on the planet. Maybe that makes sense, maybe it doesn't, but that sure does look like a triangle UFO to me. 3i Atlas continues to get closer to Earth and will reach its closest approach to our planet on December 19th, 2025. So maybe we'll get better pics of it by then. But in conclusion, NASA has told us their answer on it. It's a comet and they're sticking to that. So it either is really just a comet or it's an alien spaceship that they've determined is not going to invade us and is just passing through our solar system for like reconnaissance or whatever. Because if you think about it, if it was some sort of alien mothership, they have no reason at all to tell us that it is one. All that's going to do is cause mass worldwide panic. If it's just passing through our solar system with no intention of invading us, they're better off telling us it's a comet. But maybe it's just a comet, relax. 3i Atlas will continue to fly by Jupiter in March 2026, where the Juno satellite could hopefully take some better pics of it than what we get here on Earth. But even if they do, they're probably just going to edit the pics before they release them to the public to make it look like whatever they want it to look like. But until then, guys, I think we're safe. For now.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're fine. It's just like us looking at the anthill.
Did the US just accidentally invade Mexico? Well, videos are circulating online today showing a group of Navy soldiers having to remove a sign declaring a Mexican beach Department of Defense property. Now, the sign also read that this was now a restricted area by the authority of the commander, and that anyone entering may be detained and searched. But turns out, though, it wasn't just one sign, it was 6, and they were placed there on accident. Only after it was investigated by the heavily armed Mexican Navy, the Pentagon admitted that contractors hired by the DoD were instructed to place these signs on the Texas side of the border. But, quote, changes in the water depth and the typography alter the perception of the international boundaries location. My personal favorite part of the statement, Government of Mexico personnel removed 6 signs based on their perception of the international boundaries location. And to make it even more spicy, the US's accidental invasion of Mexico happened on the same day that Donald Trump said that he would be okay with bombing drug cartels in the country. The Mexican government has now begun an investigation into the matter.
Hello. You boys like Mexico? Yeah!
They need to strike a deal with the cartel.
Yo, what up, bro?
Call me crazy.
Oh, you were skipping around town, bro. You trying to get on the mic? What are you feeling? What kind of vibe?
Like kind of quick rap,
okay.
like a Meek Mill type of thing. Something like...
Okay, so I'll just copy that for the drums. Something like that, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. Hey.
Yo, what up? Hey, thank you, bro.
Complaining ain't got you nowhere. You sitting up thinking, when the hell you popping? But you know this life is no fair. The industry wants you in Montclair, so I just been rolling the dice. First check, you spend it on ice. I'm gonna spend it on life. Too many niggas that died over nothing, so I'm gonna go and apply the pressure. Notice shit taking up all my effort. Got a little shorty, she bad as ever. Been working hard, this shit like an endeavor. Been working hard, trying to get up on scene. Lights, camera, got me feeling OD. Camera lights when I walk in the booth. The next part, only speaking the truth. Yeah. Complaining when you got it all. Me spiritually, I've been pumped like a ball. You mentally have been speaking to the Lord, but he not answering cause you don't really call. Chances you get, you better make them count. When I get bread, I'ma end all this drought. Like fuck are they talking about? You don't know what this shit gonna amount to. Blessings for me are like blessings for you. At the top of the mountain, I'm kissing the view. Bet she coming to slide and I got all this room. No more studio apartments. She wanna know me but don't know the caution. I want the money back in proportion. I'm gonna give myself a couple garments. I'm gonna give myself a couple Porsches. Nigga, I'm off this. She wanna cop it.
Well, hey, thank y'all so much for tuning in to another Bryce is Right. Yes, I'm whispering because it's super late. Don't worry. They say turn down for what? Not here. But yeah, thank y'all so much for everything y'all do. Y'all have a great freaking week. I hope y'all have a very, very happy Thanksgiving. I will be putting one more. I'll probably put one out, actually. I guess, what do y'all want, a Black Friday episode? Or do y'all want one for Thanksgiving? Let me know in the comments and I'll get y'all taken care of. Other than that, y'all know what to do. Go ahead, smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't so you don't miss out on any future content, and please leave your thoughts down in the comments below. Let us know what's up. And other than that, we will see y'all next time. All right, y'all. Peace.
Very well. Ian, would you like to go to a party in my pants?
No, Brick.
All right, let's go.
Whoa. What are you doing? Come on, man. You can't be mixing Mexican and continental. Come on, man. I thought you was better than that.
A little garlic salt.
Ah!